I think it's fair to say we've all got a good idea of who the best expensive players are in Club World Cup fantasy football. But in order to build a team, you need a good balance of expensive and cheap players. And in this video, we're going to go through the best cheap players. All right, we're going to start off then by looking at the goalkeepers. I'm going to do a segment on each position and offer you one, two, three players per position, depending on how many they are and how good some of these assets are. One thing I would say before we get into the video, there are pickable cheap players that you could probably start every match day, to be honest, that are sort of below 4.5 million basically in every position. So in terms of goalkeepers, we've got Armani of River Plate, who certainly looks like he's going to be the first choice goalkeeper for River Plate going into the tournament. He's played 24 games this season, kept 12 clean sheets. And then we've got Al Shinawi, I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it, of Al Ahly. He played 31 games for his club this season, keeping 15 clean sheets. So I think Al Ahly absolutely dominated all of their domestic competitions this season, and he is by far their starting goalkeeper, and I think obviously the best goalkeeping asset in the game. Another goalkeeper to go through, and he follows a similar sort of trend as Armani of River Plate, is Marchesan. I think that's how you pronounce it, of Boca Juniors. 4 million. He played 18 games last season and kept 8 clean sheets. Now, one of the things I want to do is just check these players out in Transfermarkt. Okay, I'll leave a link to Transfermarkt below. I imagine most people know what Transfermarkt is. But it's been a really useful website for me to research some of these goalkeepers, because you get a sense of how many games they've played. They've all played a decent amount of football, but what you want to know is how many games they've played out of the games that they could have possibly played, if that makes sense. So in the Copa Libertadores, I'm butchering that pronunciation, he played 6 of 6 possible games. I think Torneo Apertura is the Argentinian first division, if I'm not mistaken. He played 16 of all 16 possible games. I think this is a domestic cup in Argentina. Doesn't say anything there. And then in the playoff, he played 2 games out of 2 possible appearances. So he basically featured in all of the games. If we look at El Chenawi now, you can't see, I'm just searching for him. We can see the stats that he's put up. So I think this is the Egyptian Championship playoff. He played 7 out of 8 possible games. In the Egyptian Premier League, he played 11 of 17 possible games. I'd imagine some of that's out of injuries, to be honest. I think this is the African Champions League. He played 11 of 12 possible games. So it certainly looks like these two, Armani and Al Shinawi, are definitely sort of first choice players in their respective positions. Now we've got Marchesan, haven't we, of Boca Juniors. Let's just search him up so you can see as well. Bear with. Here's Marchesan of Boca Juniors. So he has played in the Torneo Apertura 14 out of 16 possible games. In the Copa Libertadores, 2 of 2. And in the playoffs for the Torneo Apertura, he played 2 of 2 as well. So his appearances look pretty good as well. So all 3 of these goalkeepers, I would suggest, with Armani and Marchesan, probably the 2 stronger in terms of appearances for available games. All 3 of these guys, I think, are genuinely pickable options, and they come in at literally the minimum possible price for a goalkeeper. Next up then, I've got a couple of defenders for you. We've got Francisco Moura of Porto. I believe he is, well, this season has been the first choice left back for Porto. He's played 43 games this season, so I think regardless of, checking how many games he's been available for, 43 appearances suggests he's pretty much their first choice player for that position. He scored 4 goals, made 13 assists and kept 12 clean sheets. So for me, those are some really impressive numbers. And for me, I want to treat Al Ahly with the greatest of respect, but I would say that Porto are probably a stronger team than Al Ahly. And with that in mind, I would suggest that regardless of how good Mohamed Hani is, because he plays for Al Ahly, I would anticipate Francisco Moura to score more points because he plays for Porto. I'd expect him to get more goals. I'd expect him to get more assists and probably keep more clean sheets. And yeah, I think Francisco Moura is the outstanding cheap defender in the game. I really do. You've got Mohamed Hani as well of Al Ahly. In fact, you can see it for yourself when you look in the game. There are 3 or 4 defenders from Al Ahly that are priced this sort of range. And you can pick any of them, to be honest. They all seem to be first choice in their respective positions. And yeah, you can check Transfermarkt yourself to filter, but I've picked Mohamed Hani. Hopefully that's how you pronounce it, because he appears to have the best attacking output of all of the Al Ahly defenders, so I've gone for him playing at fullback. The one thing I would say, though, is I've had a mixture of clean sheet data for him. There doesn't seem to be comprehensive clean sheet data, because it says here he's only kept 3 clean sheets in 24 games. But if you look back at his goalkeeper playing for the same club kept 15 clean sheets in 31 games. So a little bit of discrepancy there between the clean sheet numbers. I think he's probably kept more than 3 clean sheets, and I just haven't been able to find a good source of data for him. So yeah, I've got to say, when you look at cheap defenders, and I think you only need one, to be fair. I think you can pretty much fill out the rest of your defence with reasonably priced defenders. If you want to go cheap, I think Francisco Mora is your man. A couple of midfielders up next then, and well, I think we're looking at here probably the 2 best cheap players in the game, or amongst the 2 anyway. Mastan Tuono of River Plate, I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. Correct me in the comments if I'm mispronouncing any of these names. Please correct me in the comments. Forgive me, I'm not an absolute expert on all of the international clubs. I specialise in Fantasy Premier League, so my knowledge of the Premier League players is pretty good. But yeah, it doesn't really stretch too much for international clubs, so forgive me. But this guy, 17 years old, looks like, well, to be honest, an absolute wonder kid. 17 years old, by the way, and look at all the tattoos he's got. I thought that was quite an interesting observation to make. He's on penalties, I believe, and free kicks for River Plate. Played 19 games in all competitions this season. 7 goals, 4 assists. So that's 11 attacking returns in 19 games, which I think is pretty good. And just to add on to the wonder kid status, I'm pretty sure Real Madrid have been sniffing around him this season, and I think it's only a matter of time before he gets nipped up by a top European club, basically. I just think at 4.1 million, he's fantastic value, and I don't really see a single better player, maybe in the game actually, apart from the forward we might talk about, but I don't see many players in the game that offer as much attacking upside as you'll get from Mastan Tuono for his price. There's also Rodrigo Mora as well, who, well, he's played 37 games this season, so it certainly looks like his minutes have been good, but I believe his minutes have improved for Porto as the season has sort of gone on. He was a bit of a bit part player for them and sort of integrated himself into the starting 11 as the season has gone on. He's played 37 games, scored 11 goals and got 4 assists. I don't believe he's on penalties or free kicks like Mastan Tuono is. But maybe, I don't know, could you argue that Porto are a slightly better overall team than River Plate? On paper, I'd say they could be. That might be a controversial statement, but I think regardless, both of these guys are very pickable players. The one thing I would say, though, is I think less people have cottoned onto it already, by the start of the game, Mastan Tuono will be in a lot of teams. And with the way the bonus points system works in this game, you get extra points for players that have low ownership. And I think Rodrigo Mora could be a decent alternative to Mastan Tuono, who might qualify for those bonus points. That might be a reason you pick him over Mastan Tuono. But yeah, both of these players have put up really good numbers. They're both sort of wonder kids. And just for the tournament in general, I think it could be a good opportunity for these sort of wonder kids, young players, to really put themselves on the radar of other big clubs. And I think their respective clubs will be playing them as well. I think they should get good minutes in this tournament. The one worry I have, right, I haven't said this in any of my videos yet, but the one worry I have about this overall tournament is how many of the big top clubs play their best players. Will they take this tournament seriously? That's just one thing that I'm slightly concerned about, because it would just ruin the tournament and also this fantasy game as well, to be honest. That's one little risk that I have, but I think these two should be fine for minutes. So yeah, top couple of midfielders, cheap midfielders, I'd go for these two. And finally, I haven't seen a whole lot spoken about. Is it Aguihoa? Aguihoa of Porto? Anyway, forgive my pronunciation. He's played 42 games this season for Porto, so he's played pretty much all of the games he's available for, and he scored 25 goals. So we've got a striker who has scored 25 goals this season, which I think is right what Erling Haaland scored for Man City this season, right? 25 goals. And he's 4.2 million. 4.2 million forward that has scored 25 goals for Porto this season. I think, well, there's no doubt in my mind a 25 goal a season striker will be first choice for Porto. Do I need to say any more? 4.2 million, 25 goals. Unless the only way you wouldn't really squeeze him in, I think, and I don't have him in my team at the moment, to be fair. He's not like an He's an obvious pick if you want a cheap forward, but he's not an obvious pick for your team because you have to weigh up, do you want to spend 4.2 million on this guy and save some cash? Or do you want to absolutely maximise your forward spots and pick the best forwards available? Because, you know, they've got the likes of Kane, Mbappe, Haaland, Guirassy, I think of it, isn't it, of Dortmund. All of these guys are significantly more expensive, and there are obviously fewer forward spots in your team than any other position in the game. So he's fantastic. 4.2 million, scored 25 goals this season. That's undeniable. But the question is, do you want to just absolutely stack out your forwards with the best, you know, Mbappe, Haaland, Kane, whatever, all sort of premium prices, or do you want to pick this guy? I suppose that's the only decision you've got to make. But if you're looking for a cheap forward, I mean, it's undeniable this guy is a good option. All right, well, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed that and found it useful. If you did, please leave me a like rating on the video. I'll probably do a part 2 of this. I think I've struck gold on most of the players that I've recommended here, and hopefully you find that useful if you're trying to pad out your own team with some cheap assets as well. There aren't, you know, I've picked 2 or 3 per position, but ultimately, I don't think you need many more than that for your team. There will inevitably be more that I spot and pick out and make another video, but if this is the only video you watch about cheap players in Club World Cup Fantasy Football, I think it should serve you fine. And yeah, let me know in the comments if there are any other good cheap players that I've missed as well. In general, that Al Ahly team are stacked with cheap players. So you could pretty much safely pick cheap assets in every position from that team. So yeah, any feedback, any comments in terms of players I missed, let me know in the comments. And if you haven't already, want to see more Club World Cup Fantasy content from me, subscribe to the Golden Goal channel. Should be just there on your screen. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in my next video.